Before I get into this, I apologize if you've watched the Central African Republic history video. I've been mispronouncing this. I see now. Phonetically, it is more or less Bangui. I'll do kind of an English pronunciation though. So, Bangui. Bangui or Bangui in Sango, formerly written Bangui in English, is the capital and largest city of the Central African Republic. It was established as a French outpost in 1889 and named after its location on the northern bank of the Ubangi River, or in French, Ubangi. The Ubangi itself was named from the Bobangi word for the rapids located beside the settlement, which marked the end of navigable water north from Brazzaville. The majority of the population of the Central African Republic lives in the western parts of the country, in Bangui and the surrounding area. The city has been part of Bangui Prefecture since December 2020. As of 2020, it had an estimated population of 889,231. The city consists of 8 urban districts, arrondissements. It's a word. 8 urban districts, 16 groups, which also has a French pronunciation, and 205 neighborhoods or quartiers. As the capital of the Central African Republic, Bangui acts as an administrative, trade, and commercial center. The National Assembly, government buildings, banks, foreign enterprises and embassies, hospitals, hotels, main markets, and the Ngaragba, we'll say that, and the Ngaragba Central Prison are all located here. Bangui manufactures textiles, food products, beer, shoes, and soap. It's Notre Dame Cathedral. I don't know why I said cathedral so weird. It's Notre Dame. Let me just say it like it's English. It's Notre Dame Cathedral is the seat of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese. Art. I'm sorry, I'm not Catholic. I'm not used to saying this. Archdiocese of Bangui. It's the seat of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Bangui. The city is also home to the University of Bangui, inaugurated in 1970. It is also served by the Bangui Mpoko International Airport. And we'll just be going through the history here. That'll be it. Archaeological studies in and around Bangui have yielded at least 26 ancient Iron Age sites that contain many metallurgical tools and objects, illuminating the pre-European history of the city and surrounding area. The archaeological sites were added to the UNESCO World Heritage tentative list on the 11th of April 2006 in the cultural category. The site closest to Bangui is Pendre Senge, 800 meters or 2,600 feet from Independence Avenue, where archaeologists and conservation agencies have carried out studies. It is a paleo-metallurgical site where several thousand shards of ceramics, iron tools, pottery, and an iron spatula weighing 9 kilograms, or 20 pounds for you Americans, have been unearthed. That is a big spatula. Oh, mama, and 20 pounds. Its dating, compared with similar sites in Nigeria and Sudan, could be close to the 9th century BC. The modern settlement of Bangui was founded by Michael Dolissier and Alfred Uzak on the 26th of June 1889, on the direction of Brazzaville administrator Albert Dolissier. It was located in what was then the upper reaches of the French Congo, the present-day Congo. The original site was 6 miles, or 9.7 kilometers. Why were they favoring the metric system and now they're favoring the not metric system? Anyway, original site was 6 miles, or 9.7 kilometers, south of the Ubangi Rapids. Its territory was organized first into the territory of the Upper Ubangi, Haut Ubangi, and then, as the separate colony of the Ubangi Shari. The initial capitals of these areas were at Les Abiras and Fort de Poser. Well, in English, if I'm horribly butchering that, Les Abiras, that's even worse, and Fort de Passel, further upstream. But the rapids at Bangui blocked them from direct communication along the river and caused the settlement there to grow in importance until in 1906, it was chosen as the new headquarters for the French administration. Bangui reached its importance as a military and administrative center when the colony was folded into French Equatorial Africa, and under both Vichy, I don't actually know this name, Vichy France, officially the French state. I'm not familiar with that, pardon me. Was folded into French Equatorial Africa and under both Vichy and Free French control during World War II. The French operated a radio transmitter in Bangui, which was described in 1932 as the most remote radio station in Africa. I wonder what they played. Um, Probably oldies, I guess. The colony of Ubangui-Chari received its autonomy in 1958 as the Central African Republic, and this became in 1958 as the Central African Republic, and this became independent from France in 1960. In 1970, President Jean Bedel Bokassa, we remember him from the CAR video, inaugurated the University of Bangui. He established the national airline Air Centrafrique the following year and ordered the construction of two new luxury hotels in Bangui. With tensions mounting between Bangui and Paris as a result of Bokassa's uncontrollable expenditures, Western banks refused to lend him any more money. Relations with the French worsened still further in April 1974 when Brigitte Miraut's body was discovered in a hotel room in Bangui. It was reported in the French media that she had been Bokassa's mistress and that he was responsible for her murder. As a result, Bokassa banned imports of French newspapers and assumed control of the Agence France-Presse the Agence France-Presse office in Bangui. By 1975, Bangui had a population of 300,723. In March 1981, widespread violence took place in Bangui following elections. After Operation Kaban, I don't know. Operation Kaban, we'll call it Kaban, was a bloodless military operation by France in September 1979 to depose Emperor Bokassa I, reinstate the former guy Dako. We remember that. So after, March 1981, widespread violence took place in Bangui following elections after Operation Kaban led the French to drop Bokassa, who had begun to call himself Emperor Bokassa I, what a guy, and replaced him with David Dako. David Dako. Maybe it's David, I don't know. Opponents of the president met in Bangui and were forced to flee the country. After returning voluntarily to Bangui in the autumn of 1986, Bokassa went on trial. Initially faced with the death penalty, in February 1988 he was instead sentenced to life imprisonment. His successor was General André Kolingba, Army Chief of Staff of Dako's army, who took over control from the local French military on the 1st of September 1981, under the pretext that the country was heading towards civil war. Although he attempted to combat corruption and control the national economy, he was unable to achieve his reforms. By the middle of the 1980s, the country's economic situation had deteriorated as 80% of the revenue went towards meeting the salaries of the staff. That is rough. 80% of the revenue of the country was to the staff. Great. Under pressure from a donor group called Gibafor, which is France, USA, Japan, Germany, the EU, the World Bank, and the UN, Kolingba made moves to restore a degree of democracy in the country in 1991 with a multi-party government. Elections were held in 1993 and 1994. The first round was sabotaged by the government when it was clear they would lose. Great. Under continued donor pressure, elections were held again in 1994, as before, with help from the UN Electoral Assistance Unit. During these elections, André Félix Patassé was elected to the post of president. Since he was from northern Central African Republic, the southern group of Kolingba started a rebellion during 1996. Let's take a quick break, to look at pictures. Dolisie and Chief Gbembo signed a pact in 1889, leading to Bangi's founding. this 1989 stamp. Look at that. A local woman, together with free French soldiers near Bangui in 1940. I'm only now looking at the image. I don't know if this. I don't know. Bangui in 1960. Yeah, am I allowed to show that image? Because I don't know. There's, and that's just the way that they were, I assume. It's just our society that wants covering everywhere. Anyway, let's go on. In May 1996, about 200 soldiers of the Central African Republic mutinied in Bangui, demanding salary increases and the abdication of Ange Felix Patasse. In the aftermath, the renegades plundered and killed more than 50 people. Following this, the French troops stationed in the country suppressed the rebellion and restored the dictatorial power. After being elected, President Patasse announced a national unity government in early 1997. The Patasse government, the opposition parties, and religious groups signed the Bangui Agreements in January 1997, which were a series of measures designed to reconcile competing political factions, reform and strengthen the. That did not end the way I thought it would. Uh, the Bangui Agreements, which were a series of measures designed to reconcile competing political factions, reform, and strengthen the economy. Sorry. The same year, the rebel troops refused a military base in Bangui, and in June, a new revolt broke out. In view of frequent political unrest, the city was named in 1996 as one of the most dangerous cities in the world. On the 25th of October 2002, several towns in the country and later Bangui itself were attacked by the forces of François Bozizé, backed with international support. Bozizé refused to accept an arrest warrant and defected with about, sorry, this is in quotes, and, quote, defected with about 100 troops engaged in street battles in the northern neighborhoods of Bangui, traditionally supporting Patasse, end quote, and went north. Bozizé went into exile in Chad, but his troops returned to Bangui and continued fighting. Peacekeeping forces were ineffective, leaving Patasse isolated, and with support from Chad, Bozizé's troops were successful in removing Patasse's government. Patasse, who was returning from Niger, after attending a conference, was not permitted to land in Bangui, and he took asylum in Togo. And Bozizé seized power and suspended the constitution. An all-party national transitional government was set up, which functioned as an interim legislative body. Sorry, I said that really broken up. Was set up, which functioned as an interim legislative body. However, the climate of distrust continued. 2013 Rebellion. In late 2012, the Seleka coalition, which we recall from the full Republic of the Congo history, they are a Muslim group of rebels. Um, in late 2012, the Seleka coalition rebelled against his autocratic rule and entered the city. After capturing Bria, Sibut, sorry for mispronouncing, and other important towns, they were on the verge of capturing Damara, the last strategic town before Bangui. France and the US refused to support the president, and neighboring countries reinforced the Central African Multinational Force, FOMAC. In January 2013, the rebels terminated their operations, hoping for a negotiated settlement. Following a ceasefire and a power-sharing agreement, Seleka and Bozizé agreed to honor the rebels' demands for the release of rebel prisoners and the expulsion of foreign troops from the country. The agreement allowed Bozizé to complete his term in office and to include members of Seleka in a new government. It was also agreed that fresh elections would be held in 2016. The agreement was not honored, and the rebels captured Bangui on the 23rd of March 2013, forcing Bozizé to flee the capital. As of early January 2014, around 500,000 have fled their homes in Bangui, almost half the city's population. On the 13th of January 2013, sorry, I just looked outside for a second because there's ambulance stuff and I read wrong. On the 13th of January 2021, around 200 rebels attacked Bangui, killing one peacekeeper, before being repelled. That's unfortunate. Here's a picture. A family shelters from the sun under tarpaulins from a refugee camp with bricks to rebuild their homes around them in the PK5 neighborhood. How very unfortunate. All right, that is the history of Bangui as presented by Wikipedia. I will likely do um, the geography, climate, demographics, all that other stuff, and particularly the culture, because it sounds interesting. Until then, goodbye.